everybody, and welcome to my very first Courageous Conversations. If you saw my post, this is my content that is kind of my private thoughts, me sharing parts of my journal, and me sharing depths of accountability and struggles and celebrating victories in actually kind of healing from over 4 decades of trauma. And so today, and the reason why I decided to do this is because it was almost like God put it on my heart. And I believe that when he talks to us, that we need to listen. And I have felt the need to do this for a while. However, I think that when you start sharing very vulnerable pieces of yourself, that we as a society don't like to see people win, don't like to see people thriving, because this is a spiritual battle. In this world, there are spiritual battles. I firmly believe that. And so I decided that there are people who truly want to heal and to unpack all of that stuff. And so those are the people that I want to reach. But sharing very vulnerable pieces of myself, I still have a lot of healing to do, a lot. And so when people come and the keyboard warriors who come attacking me on social media, I'm still very vulnerable to that. I am still very vulnerable to hurts, to responding from a place of an emotional brain instead of a rational brain and realizing that those people hurt. So I decided that until October, so over the next month and a half, that I would do these posts and podcasts, and I would do them for free. And then that would give people a chance to kind of see what this content is like. And then after that, I'll be more vulnerable and make that content for subscription, because I know that along my healing journey that I've had to kind of buy in and pay for stuff that I really felt was good for me. I mean, good supplements are more expensive. Being able to get, organic food and everything that is healthy for me, the books that I read, the podcasts that I listen to, if there's good content, I am willing to pay to learn how to make myself better. I deserve that. I am worth spending that money on. And so there are people out there that will want to see this and hear these behind the scenes things. So this is why I'm starting this content. But today, specifically, I want to talk about something deeply personal and transfer. Oh my goodness, can't even talk. That really transformed my healing journey. And that is my faith in my relationship with God. Because for a long time, I was caught in this cycle of pain, anger, resentment. And I didn't fully realize, and I would say until the last year and a half, 2 years, and really in this last year, that these emotions were impacting how I not just me, but it impacted others around me because of me. And it wasn't until I started truly growing in my faith and deepen my relationship with God that I began to kind of understand the importance of looking inward. So when I was wounded and hurt, it was all about telling everybody else how they had to change. There was nothing looking in me. And when I started growing in my faith, I was able to kind of look inward and realize that I needed to change. It was me. It was me. And so healing isn't just about addressing the wounds that have been inflicted on us. So on me, it was also about confronting the ways that my own pain hurt others, how it caused me to hurt others. And I've had to face some really uncomfortable truths with. And in my hurt, I had been unkind, impatient, and even harsh and downright wrong to the people around me. And I realized that holding on to anger and resentment is like carrying the weight that was way too heavy to bear. It was this pain. It was suffocating my spirit and distorting my views on others and my interactions on others. So through prayer and reflection and seeking God's guidance, I have learned that true healing requires not only forgiving those who have wronged us, who have wronged me, but also seeking forgiveness for the ways we've allowed our pain. So how I've let my pain hurt others. It's a very humbling process, one that calls for deep reflection and having a willingness to change. And as I continue to grow in my faith, I'm learning that if I let go of the bitterness that once completely consumed me, I'm finding peace in God's grace and strength in His love, and it's transforming the way I treat other people, which is so important to me. Healing isn't just about mending our own heart. It's about ensuring that we don't pass on pain to others. And so I want to share with you kind of what happened today that made me feel so strongly convicted to post this and start this today. I don't know if you have ever watched NCIS, but Gibbs will do these kind of like little slaps on the back of the head. He did them to Tony all the time. That's what I feel like God did to me today. He does a lot of what I call God wink, the little things where I feel like he's talking to me, but today was so profound. It like stirred in my gut. And it was just I know this is from God, and this is exactly what I'm supposed to do. And who am I to tell God no? And who am I to tell God, I'm not ready, I'm not comfortable, not today. So I had to rearrange my whole day. And so here we are. I want to read to you my devotion. So I do 4 devotions every morning, and I do them from different places. I do a lot in the Bible app. And I do this one set of them that I do every day is with this group of people from church. Then I do 2 books, usually on my own. So today, I'm currently reading from the book Unshakable by Christine Caine. And so if you've ever heard me talk, I talk about my journaling. I journal on my phone, and it helps me kind of see my growth or see places that I am starting to show like issues. So whether I'm starting to be more angry, I'm starting to be more frustrated, I'm being short-tempered, anything like that. Like it just kind of gives me a good place to kind of have my own personal accountability. So I want to read you just a small piece from August 24th, which is today, which is interesting because I did the same book 2 years ago. I like to redo some books because it shows me my growth. I like to write in there. I like to write in my journal, like how God spoke to me through that, or just stuff like that. So this 2 years ago, I talked about, and I would say 2 years ago, I was still very angry. I was going through some really rough stuff. I was kind of in a place of moving, had some really bad relational stuff, like professional relation stuff, and just a lot of like hurt and anger. And I would say that I was nowhere close to where I am today. But I actually documented in my journal, online journal, how I can't wait till my faith with God moves me to this point. So it's called soft-hearted. And the Bible verse is from Ezekiel 11:19. And it says, I will give them an undivided heart and put a new spirit in them. I will remove from them their heart of stone and give them a heart of flesh. And then the devotion, I'm just going to read a couple pieces from it. And it says, as I allowed the Lord to heal my heart from past hurt, I noticed growth in my faith, my strength, and my courage. I realized I had made a change. Instead of constantly trying to protect myself from controlling every detail of my life, I was now, bit by bit, giving myself over to the Lord. A hidden, supernatural, divine exchange was occurring. God was replacing my clogged, hardened heart with a heart of flesh. And healthy hearts foster healthy, fruitful lives and healthy, nourishing relationships. And then it says, that exchange began subtly, but over time, God transformed me from a person with a wounded heart to one who began to have the capacity to help others. After all, only free people can truly free people. I am telling you, this book, Unshakable by Kristen King, is one that I have done several times. I think this will be my 4th year, I believe, in my journey. It has been one of the most important books of my healing. And when I read that 2 years ago, I was only hopeful that that could happen to me someday. And now I'm in a place where I feel like I am truly there. I still have a long way to go. But when I read this today, I am like, I wanted so much 2 years ago to have a softer heart. And I am at a point where I feel like my heart is very softened. It is so much softer. And I look back over the last couple of weeks, especially, and the things that I have been very, very frustrated with. And it just all made sense this morning when I read that. I was like, oh my goodness. Because I get very frustrated with people around me. Because people don't understand why I do what I do. People don't understand why I feel the need to, eat the way that I eat. No gluten, no dairy, no processed food. I try to eat only organic. And not only is it just because I understand like how those foods impact my body, but like Jesus, the Spirit lives in me. And I would never feed the Holy Spirit or Jesus sitting across from me at a table such crap. And so, like, I have a lot of work to do. I feel that, I went through everything that I went through for a purpose. And so I need to live. I'm planning on seeing 100. Doctors told me I wouldn't see 50. I plan on seeing 100. And I want to do the best to take care of myself. But one of the other things is people don't understand, like, when I go speak, and this just happened the other day, like I was ready to quit doing my speaking because I tried to point out in this population, this group of people that I was speaking to, they were speaking very harshly about men. It was mostly women. I did 2 different trainings, and out of the 2 different trainings, I only had 1 man. And I don't think in this particular session there was a man in the group. But just being so belittling and mean to men. And I said, listen, can we please remember that 1 in 3 women will be victims of domestic violence in their lifetime, but so will 1 in 4 men. And it came to me that I used to be one of those people who could only see that because was all that had abused me, was men, that men are all bad, men are the evil ones. And so it was said to me that, well, you need to understand that most women who abuse only do it because they were abused, they're being controlled, coercive control, financial, emotional, like we're making excuses. And that was very frustrating to me because that's the way I used to be. And I can look at it now objectively with the rational brain because I've healed my wounds. And kind of like it says in this devotion, that God transformed me from a person of a wounded heart, which was me hating men. I had started a nonprofit in 2015, and I did a lot of domestic violence, strangulation, sharing my story, and it was all centered around women being victims and men being the abusers. And that was from my wound. And so then it says, to one who began to have the capacity to help others. And the interesting part about that now is, although my dad would call me porky, would be mean, was belittling to women, and all the things that he did to me, I can now have the compassion to understand that he was, in fact, first a victim to his dad. I remember my grandpa. He was such a mean man. I was afraid of him. And so he passed on his wounds and he passed it on his abuse, just like I have done to others. I have, in fact, been an abuser. I have verbally assaulted. You know, if you've heard my story, I threw food on a Bob Evans floor and threw water on a waitress. I mean, that's assault. And that was from my pain. That was from this memory trapped in my head that related to a smell. And so it was like, this devotion was something that 2 years ago I could only hope for, that I could only dream of. In my devotion, in my journal, I had written in there that I hope someday I can like people, that I can feel for people, that I can have a heart of flesh. And look, in 2 years later, here I am, sharing the most vulnerable parts of my story, taking accountability and being able to dig in and say that, like, you know, I hurt people and that I can come from a rational brain and have discussions and be able to help other wounded people see both sides of the story. To both sides, there's always two sides, always. Most of the time, there's three. But I am able to look at how I was, in fact, a victim, but I was, in fact, an abuser. There are a lot of people that I have hurt. There's a lot of people that have wounds because of me. And so God healing my heart and my wounds and giving me the place to be able to see my impact on others has been huge. And these are the things that nobody ever told me along the way. When I was recovering, when I was in therapy, I was told multiple times, it is okay to be angry. You don't have to forgive anybody. The forgiveness wasn't for my dad. The forgiveness was not for the person who strangled me. The forgiveness was not for all of that stuff. It was for me. It's on them whether they choose to accept it or not. Unforgiveness does not hold the other person prisoner. It holds me. And by being able to look at all of the people that hurt me and being able to see their wounds, that has made it so easy to truly give forgiveness. And I know that there are people that will say, about faith, you don't have to believe in God. It's up to you. I am just sharing my personal part of it because I used to be really, really mad at God. If I'm a child of God and I was baptized Lutheran and I do these things, how can you let these things happen to me? How can you let things happen to children? That's a whole nother topic. But having my faith and really digging deep in my faith has been a huge benefit to my healing. And I think understanding that part and having my relationship with God personally for me is probably one of the only reasons I am able to forgive and to kind of heal and look at my life with rational lenses instead of victim and angry and resentment lenses. So here's my little August 24th date of my thoughts. This is something that I hope to give people kind of just 2 or 3, 4 times a week, whatever it comes to where I have something that I'm led to share, something that I think is a profound part of my journey to share. This journey is far from over for me for healing. I will be working on this journey till the day I die. And but I'm committed. I am truly committed in continuing it with God's guidance, striving to be a kinder, more patient, and more loving every day. So if you're struggling with similar feelings, I encourage you to turn inward. Lean on your faith. Open your heart to faith. And trust that God can, in fact, help you find healing too. And the peace that you seek. I cannot tell you the very angry, always on edge, person that I used to be, always having to be busy, always having music playing, always having to have something to distract me. Workaholic, shopaholic, alcoholic, exerciseaholic, foodaholic, all of these things that I did trying to silence the pain. I can't tell you how amazing it feels to be able to sit in silence, to be able to sit out in my backyard and just be still and listen to nature, to be able to sit still with my dogs and love on them and feel sweetness, to feel connection for the first time in my life. That is what is on the other side of surrendering your trauma, your hurt, your resentment, your pain, your unforgiveness. I wish every person let go of all of that, because what a different world we would have. You just live differently. Your view on life is different. When you come from a place of anger and resentment to love and compassion. So thank you for joining me. And may you have a wonderful, blessed day. Looking forward to speaking with you again. Be blessed.